Good evening, class. Uh, Today we'll discuss the rest of the form elements. The next tag that we'll discuss is the input type equal to radio. So when we set the type of the input tag to radio, this means we are creating small circular options out of which only one from a group can be selected. So here you can see input type radio. See, we have basically used type your name and we have used a text box. Then marital status के लिए हमने 4 रेडियो बटन्स दिए. चारों रेडियो बटन्स में you can see we have given type equal to radio. The name of the radio button is also the same. Here raid and but, so radio button, short for radio button. The name is same because this is the group name. The name parameter of this tag defines the group name. So the group name for this is radbud and the values are given single, married, divorced and widower. Just notice this, that even after specifying the value, we need to explicitly write it as a text because this value is passed on to the form attribute radio button. But for this value to be displayed on the screen, we need to type it as textual content. So input button is created, but after that single is only written if I write this single here. This value equal to single does not display single on the screen. This will only create a radio button. The text appearing after the radio button is written once the input tag is closed. So this code will create a page like this. One input tag is there for text and the other one for marital status. These are the values: single, married, divorced and widower. You can also see that for the radio button whose value is single, we have used the checked parameter. Just by simply adding the checked word in the input tag, this means that this option will be selected by default. And one more thing here, the value and the content appearing after the radio button is same, but this need not be same for every example. There can be cases where the value is something else and what appears after the radio button is something else, so that can also happen. So radio button is clear to all of you. So we move on to the next tag, that is the checkbox. So the checkbox is on the other hand reverse of radio button. These checkbox are these square boxes with some options. These can be either ticked or unticked, but the difference between the radio button and checkboxes is that while only one out of all the radio buttons could be selected, we can select multiple checkboxes at once. Just showing you, these are the radio buttons. After this, we show documents presented, input type equal to checkbox, name equal to test, value is equal to 1. The checkboxes are also having the same name, but we can select multiple out of these. So we have given 3 checkboxes, one for work card, second for IRS and third for identity card. You can see even though what appears after the checkbox is work card, its value is 1. For IRS, the value is 2. For identity card, the value is 3. So checkbox and radio buttons, the most significant difference is that more than one field associated with a variable can be selected. So this will create a page something like this. The text box and radio buttons are just the same as the previous example. What's new is that 3 checkboxes are created and we can tick multiple out of them. The next we come to the select command. Now this select tag is used for creating drop down lists or selection lists, as they are more prominently called. Now out of this selection list, you can select a particular option by clicking on that value. One or more than one of the items in the list can be selected, but it depends on how we create the selection list in the first instance. So the select command has the following parameters. Firstly, name is equal to text string. The text string should be replaced by the name of the variable that will receive the content of the field. The second parameter is the size. Now this is an optional parameter. Size is a number representing the number of items that will be displayed at a time by the list. Each item occupies one line on the screen. The value should be specified when the space of the list is smaller than the number of items. Then we have this another optional parameter, multiple. When used in the select command, this option indicates that several items on the list may be chosen. Otherwise, only one of the options from the list can be chosen. The option parameter is used to specify the different options in the list. Now let us take an example in which we create two selection lists. The radio buttons, the text box, the radio buttons and check boxes are already there. Focusing on the creation of selection list. So position intended. So we create a drop down list for the position. Select name is equal to position. Options are senior analyst, clipper programmer, HTML programmer, operator, system managers. So for the different options, we simply use the option tag and give the option. You can also have a closing option tag that is particularly optional but sometimes recommended, that you close the option tag also. So these option tags are given. The first option is senior analyst, second option is clipper programmer, and so on. This firstly you create the list using select tag. Select the name of the list and then the various options in it using the different option tags, and finally you need to close it using the /select command. Now the next list is the operating system. To select the most familiar operating system, so we again create a new list. Select name as operating system. The options are DOS, Windows, Unix. Then option selected, OS/2, then option Solaris, option VMS. You can see in this OS/2 is selected and the previous list clipper programmer was selected. So this selected attribute is basically going to select that particular option from the list by default. In both these lists, only one of the options can be selected since we have not used the multiple parameter. So this will create a form which will look something like this. Position intended, we have a drop down list for all the positions. Similarly, operating system most familiar list, and when we click on the down arrow, we'll get all the options. When the size parameter is omitted, the list is only opened if the arrow is pressed. If this parameter is specified, it displayed open, showing the number of lines specified by the parameter, regardless of the number of items on the list. अगर हम साइज स्पेसिफाई करते हैं तो यहाँ पे जैसे एक ही दिख रहा है OS/2, अगर मैंने लिख दिया होता साइज इज इक्वल टू 3 तो 3 OS यहाँ पे डिस्प्ले हुए आ रहे होते, और फिर मैं डाउन एरो क्लिक करती तो बाकी के ऑप्शंस भी दिखाई देते. Now we discuss more about the size and multiple parameters. The size parameter basically allows specification of a fixed size for the list regardless of the number of items it has. So अब हम एक लिस्ट बनाएंगे जिसमें हम साइज स्पेसिफाई करेंगे as 7, but it can contain more items or less items than it. So we can have a list whose size is 7, but it can contain 14 or 15 elements also. Then multiple parameter allows several items to be selected. If I want to select multiple options from the list, you just need to add this multiple parameter while creating the list, and while selecting we keep the shift key pressed while selecting the different items from the list using the left mouse button. And if you want to select non-consecutive items, then we can press the control key while clicking on the items desired. Shift key if we are selecting the consecutive items, and control key if we are selecting the non-consecutive items. So we'll see then example. Here we have created a list named test whose size is 7, and there are 4 options in it. You can see option, item 1, option, item 2, and so on. So this visible size would be 7, but it contains total of 14 items. The next list, select name equal to destination, size is 8, but we have only given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options: Europe, United States, Canada, Caribbean, and Africa. Now preferred airlines, here I have given the multiple parameter also. Name is equal to co, multiple, and size is equal to 8. So here multiple option is there, and you can also see while creating the options also I have selected more than one options. I have selected Aerolíneas, Lufthansa, and Varig. I can also select more when the form is actually displayed on the HTML. Just note all the lists are created using separate select tags. This will create a page something like this. You can see the first one, only 7 items are shown because the size is 7, but the list contains 14 items. But here you can see for the countries, the size was larger, but it contained only 5 countries. Preferred states, you can see multiple options are selected from here. Now next we come to the text area command. The text box is a single line text box, but most of the times we might be requiring to enter multiple lines of the text. One of the most common examples is when you have to give some comments or you have to type your address. In those situations, text area tag is used. So for this, the different parameters are name is equal to text string. This is used to name the text box. This would name the variable which is to be used to receive the content of the field. Then we have 2 more parameters, rows and columns. Rows is equal to numLine. NumLine here indicates the number of lines in the text area. Columns, number of columns indicates the number of characters that can be there in a single line. So here is an example. You can see we have created a form. We have asked the user to type your comments. Then we have used the text area tag. We have given it a name. We have given rows equal to 7, columns equal to 50. So there will be 7 rows and 50 characters maximum in each row can be displayed. So, and then we finally close it with the closing text area tag. So we have written leave your comments here. Leave your complaints here. Now for complaints also we have created a text area with 5 rows. Now when I give rows equal to 5, it will by default take the default number of column size. Then lastly for the address also we have given rows 4 and columns 20. So you can see it will create a web page like this. Comments, 7 rows and columns equal to 50. Complaints, the rows are 5 and the default size for columns is used. And for address, the column size is 20, whereas the rows are 4. So you can see the address for text area is smaller than the complaints text area. So now we have covered the basic tags in a form. In the next class, we'll see how we can add different buttons for submitting the form and how we can basically make the forms look more visually appealing. You can see this form is a little untidy. Even this one, we would like more organized forms, so that we'll discuss in the next class, the next and the final class of your GEC subject.